Special documentary report by Radio-Canada correspondent Jean-Michel Leprince. And now, for more of the company side of the story, I'm joined by Andrew Grant of Skye Resources Limited in Vancouver. Andrew, welcome to On the Map.
Thanks very much for having me, Avi.
So we just watched this short documentary where we've seen huts burning, local people losing their homes, huge numbers of armed police gathered around a handful of villagers. What's your version? What's the company's version of events?
In January this past year, along our properties in northeastern Guatemala around our ferro-nickel project, a number of people who were invading our land illegally were removed by the Guatemalan police forces under a ruling from the Guatemalan courts.
So that's it. They're land invaders. They're not indigenous people who are trying to farm traditionally. In your view, they're just invaders.
These lands, which are privately held lands by our company, have been privately held lands for generations. And up until September of last year, September of 2006, the lands were simply empty. Some of the lands had cultivations on them, but no one was living on the lands.
There was a complaint made to the International Labor Organization in 2005 by Guatemalan farm workers against your project there, and the complaint was upheld. And the ILO ruled that there had been no consultations at all with local communities before you were awarded your license. And constitutionally in Guatemala, there have to be consultations before the license is even granted. So what is the nature of your dialogue going back with this community?
It's been a series of consultations that have reflected international standards, which are accepted by the World Bank, the International Finance Corporation, the Equator Principles. Over 3,800 individuals in 28 communities were consulted in Spanish and Quechua.
Yeah, but I've also seen a declaration signed by 20 different communities calling on the government to suspend your license and the exploration. So, I mean, there is a he said thing going here, but there's clearly mobilized support against your project. There are, and we've seen it in the documentary as well.
A number of things have changed on the ground, and because of the level of open, frank, transparent dialogue that we have engaged in with these very same community leaders, that the support for the project has been growing and is very, very vocal.
What I'm getting from you, Andrew, is extraordinarily soothing talk about how the version of reality that I'm reading in documents is starkly at odds with the version of reality in which the community loves you and you have untold support in Guatemala. Let's go a little bit deeper. Do you think that the community opposition to your mine in Guatemala might have something to do with the history there?
This area of northeastern Guatemala is a very impoverished area. This project can provide impetus for economic development, for social infrastructure development, and for helping the community to move away from a cycle of poverty that has existed for generations.
Now, mining has not traditionally lifted people out of poverty in this area. In fact, Inco ran the mine there, the mine site that you bought from Inco for the entire 1970s. And Inco left a legacy of pollution, of joblessness, and links to human rights abuses during the Civil War in Guatemala and before. Don't you think that people have a very negative impression of mining in that area for good reason because of the Inco legacy?
I cannot speak to what other mining companies did or did not do, and I cannot speak to historic activities, partly because I wasn't there.
Your company has a very strong historical link to Inco, isn't that true? We
purchased the property from Inco in 2004.
And your CEO worked at Inco from 1971 from 1974 until 1989. I'm looking at his bio from your website.
Yes,
your CEO worked at Inco all throughout the period when Inco was in Guatemala.
That's correct. Ian Austin was the treasurer for Inco for a number of years, and he had no involvement in the project in Guatemala.
Is it true that that you have to sell all of your nickel to Inco, and Inco is required to buy all of your nickel by the terms of the sale?
No, that's not true.
Is it true that Inco still owns, well, it was 14 or 13% of your company?
Absolutely. CVRD Inco is one of many institutional investors in our company.
And is it true that when you bought the license, you paid the Guatemalan government $800,000 and $160,000 to the municipality of El Astor itself to settle the outstanding royalty claims that were levied on Inco?
That is my understanding, yes.
So how can you say that you're not historically linked to Inco? Why wouldn't you think that the people locally there would associate with Inco the legacy that it left and everything it was associated with?
I think that in order to get a sense of what the local people perceive about the project, you need to speak with the local people. What I can tell you is that there is a strong association in LS Store with the former project and the former company. What I can also tell you is that our company, Skye Resources, is doing the best we can as a small, young company to meet the various challenges that we're facing, especially in terms of demonstrably providing benefits to these families in the local communities and demonstrating that responsible, environmentally responsible mining can provide lasting impact, positive impact and benefits to the region.
Andrew, I'm impressed with your unflappability. Thanks for being on the map.
Thank you, Avi. Thanks for having me on.